All right, so good morning, everyone. Today, we are going to continue to our HomeLife Landmark 2024 Bootcamp. Today, we're going to talk about the topic 11. Topic 11 basically is the follow-up for the offer. If you have a client, the offer is already done. For example, it's a freehold or condominium. The offer is already accepted. So we're going to talk about today what we should to do after offer accept. So first one, we talk about the deposit. Second one, we talk about the waiver or notice of fulfillment. The next one, we talk about amendment. The last one, we talk about a mutual release. And yeah, that's all for the topic. So let's start. We go to the forms. We go to the transaction we already done. Let's go search property. And then let's go to the tools. Let's go web form, authentic sign. One more time. Okay, let's say we have an offer. The offer is already negotiated with the listing agent and everything is done and offer accept. So after offer accept, we have to do deposit. The deposit usually is 24 hours. And for example, the offer accepted yesterday. So we have to ask our client, go to bank, get the deposit today. So that's why when we prepare the offer, we always need to ask our client in this offer right here. So when we prepare the offer, we always ask a buyer. So if offer accept, let's say the maybe 70,000 for the deposit. If the offer accept, can you get the 70,000 from bank tomorrow? So if your buyer said, yes, I have the money, then that's okay. So we can go with the offer, send it to listing agent. If the buyer told you, you know what, I don't have a 70,000, maybe I only have a 20,000. So you have to make sure you have a 20,000 with offer and the 50,000 is a supplementary deposit. So that is, if you really need, we can, I will show you in the Schedule A how to prepare the clause. But let's see the normal situation, offer accept. We need to ask a buyer to get a draft from bank. Most of the case, I will suggest go with buyer together to the bank, get a draft. And as agent, we bring the draft, send it to listing brokerage, or deposit to the listing brokerage trust account. The reason I have one experience is, before I have a buyer, so that's 14, 15 years ago, the property I purchased for almost 1.8 million. That's a very, very high price in the 10, 15 years ago. And the buyer, so I go with the buyer to the bank to get a draft. So I drop off my buyer to the bank. I find the parking space. After I find the parking space, I go to the bank, meet my buyer. So, sometimes the tailor, they will ask the buyer, so why you need a draft? They said, oh, I have a buying the property. And then they will say, oh, would you mind? I will ask my in-house mortgage specialist to talk to you for the mortgage. So that's sometimes happen because, we have some agent, they let the buyer go to bank. The bank, they have a mortgage specialist. You never know. Maybe the specialist, they have a wife, husband is agent. They trying to make your deal, broken your deal, and they will try to steal a client. This could be happen, but sometimes we have to very be careful. So go with your client, get a draft, and bring the draft to listing brokerage and get a receipt. So if like a Friday, you accept the offer, it's always happen. Saturday, Sunday, the bank may not open. So we have to talk to the listing agent, let the listing agent know, my buyer, the bank is not open weekend or holiday, I will get a draft to the next business days. So you have to send the email, send a text message to listing agent. Most of the case, the listing agent will understand, will confirm to you. So the deposit is very important, don't forget. And also when you get the deposit from your buyer, we will ask you to do the one more form. It's called the receive fund records. Because we have lots of the agents so exciting because they have an offer accept and they have a deposit drop off and they have a wait condition waived. After closing, office still not give you commission. So you call the office, the deals said, oh, we have a missing document for receive funds record. Then you have to fill this form. But if you ask a buyer, what is their account number in after closing, most of the buyer, they will not going to tell you. So that's why when we go to bank, get a draft, we have to bring this form to fill the D2 part. Number of the account and who is account holder, what is account type. So that form is when we do the deposit. Some agent, they don't know, they just wait for last minute. So the buyer will not, most of the buyer, they will not give you this information. So we have a problem for the fund track compliance. So that is a deposit. And if you have any question regarding deposit, feel free to put in the chart. We're going to discuss. So next one, we talk about waiver. The waiver is when the offer accept, we need, if we have a condition for the finance, we have a condition for the home inspection, we need ask a buyer to send document to the mortgage agent or mortgage specialist to get the mortgage application. Before we may get the pre-approval, but after offer accept, we need to get a mortgage application. So usually the mortgage application take 48 hours, 1 or 2 days. So if the mortgage broker told you, so the underwriter is already approved, we get the commitment letter, so you can waive the condition. Basically, waive the condition, I will go to Webform, I will show you. Go to Webform and find the transaction, we go to forms, and then we add, or before we add, I think the office, we already have a waiver. You see the 1, 2, 2, 3 is a waiver. So before we go to waiver, I will go to agreement, purchase, and sell, because we need to copy the condition. So let's see first one, the condition for finance. The buyer told you finance is okay, we are going to waive it. So we copy condition for the finance, and then we go to form 1, 2, 3 waiver. And we don't need to do anything, just copy and paste condition to here. And date at, that's a city name. Usually, let's say we're in the Markham, we're going to put the Markham. But if you buyer in the Toronto, we put the Toronto. Sometimes we have an agent said, oh, my buyer is in overseas, but how can I write down the overseas city before the Ontario? So that is one challenge. Usually if your buyer in overseas other country, so I will suggest you to put which city you prepare the waiver. Like right now we are in Markham, we prepare the waiver in Markham, we put the Markham. And that is the date when they are going to waive it. Let's say today's date. And right now it's around 11:30. We're going to put 11:30 a.m. to waive it. Let your buyer to sign it. And once your buyer finish the signature, we have lots of the agency, why buyer, seller? So do buyer need to sign, seller need to sign? No. So where the buyer side, we put buyer signature here and then send it to listing agent. So once you finish that, you can easily click authentic sign from on top send new authentic sign. So for the authentic sign, I believe we already done lots of the training, and I hope you can check the previous training for the authentic sign. So just click authentic sign, setting the authentic sign, send it to your client. So for the bottom is a receive of acknowledge. Listing agent will receive and acknowledge, send it back to you. Once you receive the acknowledged waiver, you can send to buyer's mortgage agent, send it to buyer's lawyer, send it to our office. So everyone, we need this form, but we need to acknowledge the form. So make sure the listing agent acknowledge. Maybe listing agent will ask their seller to acknowledge. Maybe the listing agent will acknowledge it by themselves. Some brokerage, maybe they can acknowledge it by their front desk. So make sure we get the acknowledge the form. So that is a very perfect scenario. And the next one, we talk, before that, I will show you another one. Another one, that page. Another one is called the notice of fulfillment. We see the 124. Notice of fulfillment usually is much more strict, much more stronger than waiver. Waiver, that means maybe the buyer did not get everything confirmed. Let's say the buyer told you, I'm okay with the finance. Maybe the buyer have never get a confirm from the bank, whatever, but the buyer willing to go ahead to waive the condition. So they use a waiver. Notice of fulfillment, that means that they get everything confirmed, and then they decide to waive the condition. So let's see another one is called status certificate. If you buyer, let's go same thing, go to the form 101, agreement purchase sale. We go to condition for status certificate. So when the property is sold, the listing agent will ask a seller to get the status certificate ready. Usually within 10 days, they give the status certificate to you as a buyer agent. So we forward this to buyer's lawyer. Once we forward to the buyer's lawyer, if the buyer's lawyer said, okay, you're able to waive the condition, we copy this condition, we go to 124. That means after buyer, double check, confirm, making sure everything is okay. Then they use notice of fulfillment, fulfill this condition. So that is the way we can use a notice of fulfillment. Same thing, let the buyer to sign it, send it to listing agent, and let listing agent acknowledge. So we have some agent even use with the status certificate, even the condition inspection by using waiver. That's okay, no problem. So usually that is, the little bit difference with waiver with notice of fulfillment. And let's go next one. I think you already know how to use a waiver, how to use a notice of fulfillment. Let's say we may have a situation, home inspection. When the buyer, after offer accept, we need a book appointment for the home inspection. So usually as agent, we refer 2 or 3 home inspector to the buyer. And the buyer can talk to a home inspector, make an appointment when they are going to do the home inspection. So as an agent, we have to book appointment for home inspection for this property. Usually the home inspection appointment, we cannot use a broker pay. We have to call listing brokerage and book home inspection appointment. Once the appointment booked, so you have to physically to present home inspection. Usually home inspection take 2 hours. So we have to physically be there in 2 hours. We cannot just give the lockbox, let the buyer to go. We cannot just open the door, we just leave, and after 2 hours, we come back to lock the door. No, we cannot. So if the seller leasing agent find out, complain you to RICO, we get a huge penalty. So making sure we have appointment with a home inspection, we go there in the during the home inspection, we have to stay there, and we cannot interfere. We cannot scare the home inspector. So just let the home inspector do their job. We just stay beside. Okay, let's just say home inspector finished the home inspection. They give the report. Usually the report is 40 page, 50 page, and they take a photo, they get a summary. And after finish, maybe we quickly talk to home inspector. They will give the buyer some like a quick summary. This property, condition is good, and they don't have a major problem. Foundation, everything is good, and maybe they have a minor. They will list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minor things, and maybe we can talk to the home inspector. How much usually you think we fix the minor problem? Some home inspector they will say roughly, because they don't want to be a response for that answer. Some inspector they will not. So usually we can ask. Maybe they will let you know roughly, maybe it costs $800, maybe $1,000. So if we know that, and then we come back and we prepare the amendment. So here we go back, agreement purchase sale. Before we prepare the amendment, I will quickly have a phone call with the leasing agent. Maybe send an email to listing agent. Here is home inspection condition. Because the buyer not want to waive it or notice fulfillment. Because there's a minor things. If the buyer said, it's okay, this is a minor, I don't care, I want the property, because the property is most important for me. So we can use the same thing. We can use a notice of fulfillment to put a condition for status certificate and also home inspection. Maybe we can use a waiver to copy and paste two conditions, finance and the home inspection condition. If the buyer okay with home inspection, that's easy. But if the buyer, they said, no, I'm not really accept, but I want you as agent to negotiate with the listing agent, maybe either let a seller to fix, either give me some money. So we have to go with amendment. So now we go to amendment. So for the amendment, we have an agent, they always check here. They said one is delete, one is insert. So how we are going to, we put one delete, where's another insert? They don't have a selection. So forget about here, just leave a blank. I will say just forget the blank, just leave blank and write down delete and copy paste home inspection and insert. So before we do that, we have a quick phone call or email to leasing agent. Tell the leasing agent, hi, John, we just finished the home inspection. Everything looks good. But however, we find out here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 problem. Just to get a quick summary. So after I carefully review with my buyer, so we are going to 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe there's 7, maybe there's 10, more than 10 problems, but we are only go the top 3 or top 4 problem. So here's a 4 problem. So can you please ask a seller either to fix these 4 problems before the closing? We have to, when we do the revisit, we need to double check. Either you can ask a seller, give us maybe 800 credit. So you are not let a leasing agent to find a solution. You know, we have some agent just send a home inspection report to leasing agent. Here's a report. This is, you know, tell me what can I do? So you give the headache to the leasing agent. But now we're tell leasing agent, we find out maybe 10 problems. And then now after we carefully review, we'll only go maybe 4 problems, very important things. So either ask a seller to fix, either ask a seller to give the credit. So I will prefer the seller give the credit because the seller is going to move out. So they don't want to book appointment with a contractor, maybe a different handyman come to fix, right? So that's why we use this clause, delete home inspection, insert seller agrees to credit, let's say 5,000. Well, that amount should be reasonable. Usually the buyer, you know, they want as many as they want, but maybe the seller is not agree. So that's why we have to contact a listing agent before we prepare the form. We make sure the seller and the buyer, they are in the same page. So if the seller agrees 5,000, so we put a 5,000 credit on closing through the lawyer's adjustment to fix the items stated in the home inspection report. So that is one best scenario if the seller agrees. Another one is the seller agrees to fix the following items on or before closing at seller's own expense. So we may list 1, 2, 3. So you can list 1, 2, 3 for, you know, the things you have to ask a seller to fix. And before we do the final revisit, we have 2 times final revisit. We have to contact a leasing agent, make sure the seller finish, and then we go the revisit. So that is the amendment we usually to do for the home inspection. If there's anything going wrong, we can fix from the amendment. So don't just send the amendment without a talk to leasing agent. You know, we have one story, is many years ago. There's a property is like is rebuilt. You know, the homeowner, they purchased the property, they rebuilt another property because the seller is flipping. They're like a builder. They just buy the very bungalow, whatever. It's a lot, it's huge lot. And then they rebuild, tear down and rebuild another new one. They sell it. Actually, that's new, customized build. So perfect. But the buyer, you know, they put the offer and everything is good. But the buyer asked a home inspection to check the property. It's almost like $2 million many years ago. So the home inspection, they cannot find anything. Even there's a very minor things. But the buyer, you know, they have some friend, maybe it's an agent or whatever. They will say, oh, you can use home inspection to ask maybe some money from the seller. So they ask our agent, can you ask them 60,000 for the, you know, inspection the problem? So our agent said, because this is a new customized build, 60,000 is too much. And then the seller said, you know, why not ask 10,000? So finally, our agent agreed 8,000, not 10,000, 8,000. And they send a waiver, they send the amendment to leasing agent without talk to leasing agent. And the leasing agent received the amendment. Let's say today is the last day for the condition for home inspection. They send the amendment irrevocable until 9 o'clock. they think before the 9 o'clock, if the seller not agree, we send a waiver after 9. So the seller not respond. Even they send a waiver, the seller not respond anything, no acknowledge. So next day, the seller's lawyer send a letter to the buyer's lawyer because you are intent to renegotiate. So seller is declined and this offer is null and void. The reason because they have another offer, better offer. So that's why they lose the property. So always be careful, talk to leasing agent before you do anything. And so the amendment, we not only do the home inspection, we can do everything. Let's say the buyer, maybe they have before the buyer is one person. Let's say buyer is John Hest. And now before the closing, your buyer said, oh, I have to add my spouse name because before we prepare the offer, it's only use my name. So now we can use amendment. The amendment buyer is the original buyer, and you can delete buyer name. Let's say John Test, and insert buyer name and you can use this to delete buyer name, insert buyer name. To add, you don't need to cross out, you don't need to put the initial for the original offer because after the offer accept, we cannot touch the accept offer. So that is the easy way we can use delete name and the insert name. Maybe the buyer, they are using the husband name, but however, they have some financial problem, they have to change to another person, maybe the spouse name. So we can use delete John and insert their spouse. So that is we use amendment for the name change. Another one, we can use the amendment to do the closing day. Let's say we original closing day is 30, maybe 3 months, but now everybody agree to move to earlier. So we go closing day, date. Closing date, let's say original is April 30. And now we are going to change to March and 2024. So usually when we change the closing day more than a week, we have to do another thing. It's called title search. So we have to put the title search together. So same thing, you can check what's original title search date and then write down, insert closing date, title search date. So use amendment, we can do as last things. So that is a typical, we use amendment, do home inspection, they have problem, change the buyer's name, add, delete, or change the closing date. So that is amendment. I hope you can use amendment to do lots of things. After amendment made, we can ask a buyer to authentic sign, initial, irrevocable by buyer. We give the irrevocable date. That date cannot over the condition expire date. Let's say today is the last day for the condition home inspection. We have to make sure before that date, we may put 10 p.m. That means before 11:59. Make sure that both parties accept amendment. and the buyer's signature, buyer's signature, and then send it to the seller, and the seller accept. So that is the amendment. I hope you can, if you have any thought, any questions, please put in the chat. So let's go to last one. Last one is a very, very bad situation. It's for mutual release. You know, we don't want a mutual release, but sometimes it's really hard. Let's just say you put an offer, everything is good, deposit send it to listing brokerage, and maybe you buyer send it to mortgage application to bank, but unfortunately, the bank declined your buyer's mortgage. They cannot get a mortgage. So we have to go to transaction. We have to find the form. It's called mutual release. It's not here. We have to add from add 1 to 2 is mutual release. Find the Toronto. Usually, if the buyer told you within the 5 banking days, they told you, you know what? I asked the bank, the underwriter, they declined my mortgage application. I cannot get a mortgage at this moment. So you may quickly ask a buyer, let's just try and see if there's any other lender. Like, you know, A bank, they decline. Maybe we quickly check with a B bank. If they're not possible, at the same time, we can check with a B lender. B lender, maybe the interest rate getting a little bit higher, but they can help you to close the property. Maybe next year you can, or next 2 years, with in the next few years, you can switch to the A lender later. Or if the buyer said, no, maybe, you know what, I check with the B lender. Also, nobody will borrow the money to me. So now you have a last option. Check with the private lender. Its mortgage rate will be very high, but at least can help you to close the property. If the buyer said, no, I don't have money, I cannot afford, then we try everything we try. So now you have to ask a buyer, if you make sure you cannot go ahead, I will ask a leasing agent, talk to leasing agent, I will prepare the mutual release to you. So if the buyer confirm, then we quickly send the email, text message, or quick phone call. Usually I will not suggest a phone call. Some agent, you know, if you call them, they will yelling you, why you waste my time? Why you don't qualify your client? They will yelling with you. So that's why we have to, best is don't call them, just send an email, send a text message. Email will be the best way. So I will send the email to listing agent, tell listing agent, hi, listing agent, you know, I have a you know, bad news for you, but my buyer tried the very best. They get a mortgage application sent, but however, they was declined by the bank. So we try everything we try, but sorry, still not able to get a mortgage. So I will send you mutual release as soon as possible. So let the leasing agent know what's your decision, and tell them you are going to send the mutual release. The mutual release you can send before the finance condition expire date or after. So you don't need to rush. Let's say today is last day, 5 banking days, and the buyer cannot get a mortgage. I will first time talk to leasing agent. My buyer cannot get a mortgage. I will send you mutual release later. Maybe you can send the mutual release tomorrow, the day after tomorrow. So you don't need to rush. And now we are going to prepare the mutual release. Release is very simple. They have all the information, buyer, seller, and the brokerage information, and the property address, and how much the original deposit pay to. We have a lot agent made huge mistake for the pay to. You know, 70,000 we deliver to listing brokerage. Lots agents said, lots of the agent, they think this is listing agent brokerage name. So if you put a listing brokerage name, that means your buyer willing to give up all deposit to listing brokerage. So that is not we want. So make sure don't make this mistake. $70 pay to the buyer legal name. That's it. So maybe sometimes the buyer said, you know what? I don't have a 70,000. The 70,000 is from my parents. They give it to me. So I want to write down pay to my parents' name. Well, you can try, but most of the brokerage, they will only give the deposit back to the buyer on the APS. They will not give it to anyone else other than this agreement. So make sure the pay to always be a buyer's name. Okay, so now is for buyer, irrevocable. It's very important. Last agent made a mistake. Today is last day. You prepare the mutual release. Lots of agent will make today. And 11:59, they think they need a match to the condition of the home inspection, finance. You don't need, because some seller, they will listen to the listing agent. The listing agent will explain to seller, you know, this is the buyer's condition for the buyer's benefit. If they can get mortgage, they will go ahead. If they cannot get a mortgage, they will send a mutual release, get a deposit back. But some sellers will not think about that way. They think you play with me, with my time. If you cannot get a mortgage, why you sending me offer? I'm not going to give the deposit. I will keep the deposit. You know, some sellers, they think about that way. Actually, the deposit is in the listing brokerage trust account. Nobody can get that amount of money unless mutual release signed by both parties, unless the property completely closed. The last scenario is for the court order. So the seller cannot just simply say, the buyer, they play with me, they waste my time, I will get a deposit. They cannot. So that's why we have to let the buyer know, you know, deposit is in trust account. And usually I will not give until today, because sometimes the seller need to sleep it, they need to take time. So I will usually give 3 to 4 banking days. Like today, I will prepare the mutual release. I will give it to you until Friday. Someone will say, no, it's already after the condition. That's okay, no problem. So the mutual release can prepare the after condition. Irrevocable can be after condition. You give a few days, let the seller to think about that. So listing agent will talk to a seller, let them know that is for benefit for buyer. So, okay, so we finished the mutual release, buyer sign here. After buyer finish the signature, you have to send mutual release and all the document to our office, admin at HomeLifeLandmark.com. So office will double check, make sure all the information is correct. Because we decline lots mutual release because they put a wrong name. Sometimes the buyers think about get a deposit back, but the agent made a mistake, they pay to a seller. They pay to listing brokerage. Even someone, you know, to make a very silly mistake, they pay to a buyer agent. The buyer agent think about they will get the money. Anyway, so making sure it's a pay to buyer. All right, so we are almost finished. And that's the last one for the mutual release. Yeah, that's all for the mutual release. After your or brokerage sign it, you send it to listing agent. Listing agent will ask a seller to sign it. Seller's brokerage will sign it. After seller's brokerage sign it, and take almost like 1 week, more or less. You know, sometimes they take 3 days, 1 day. Sometimes they take maybe 7 days. Even, you know, when I was new, I have one mutual release taken me 2 months. The why take me 2 months? Because in the first few days, I call them every day. I call the leasing brokerage, ask where's my buyer's money, because the buyer ask me every day. When buyer ask me, I call leasing brokerage. They get mad. They will put a notes for this mutual lease. Maybe let's wait. I don't know, but anyway, I take 2 months to get it back, mutual lease back. Okay, so that's all for today. We talk about, before the closing, after I accept the offer, we have to do last things, making sure we do everything correctly. And thank you for taking today's training. And now we are going to have a question time. I will stop the record for now.